I have been the new kid 9 times. We are going to be talking about being the new kid. So yeah, it sucks. Also, this has happened to me. Picture this. You don't have to become someone else to fit in. The hardest part about starting a new school is starting the new school. And you do not ever have to change yourself to fit someone else's standard. I am not stoked to be starting a new school my senior year. Yes, I understand that high school isn't like Mean Girls, but a part of it is, okay? Because everyone else was just like, oh, you're weird. And then they didn't talk to us. It will get better. When it gets better, I cannot tell you. The first week, the first day isn't the whole story. I was really confused at first and I was really hurt because I was putting myself, all of myself, into being their friend and they didn't reciprocate at all. Perhaps that is not the friend group that you should be around. Welcome back to Home is Where the Heart Is. I'm Allie, your host and fellow military kid. I'm building this community as part of my Girl Scout Gold Award project to make sure no military kid has to navigate the life alone. This is the spot where we can connect and share advice about all the highs, lows, and messy in-betweens of life on the move. And if you're not a military kid, you're still welcome. Gain some empathy and learn something new. So, if you've ever packed your life into a box, survived your first day at a new school, or wondered what it's like to do those things, you're in the right place because here, home isn't just a place, it's where your heart is. So, today, I'm being a military kid, and I think that for me, it is. And obviously, I can't speak for everybody, but I think that this is also one of the experiences that every single military kid will probably go through, almost definitely go through at one point in their military child life versus obviously deployments are extremely difficult and emotionally tolling, or injury of a service member, death of a service member. Those are obviously very heavy topics, but this is something that is emotionally exhausting and demanding in its own way, and it can last for months and then it happens over and over and over again. And I think that that of in and of itself is a very difficult experience, and no matter if you've done it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times, your 10th time is not going to be any easier. If anything, it is arguably harder because the older you get, the more people become their own people and it's harder to mesh and find friends. Whereas in elementary school, it's kind of just like, hey, you want to be friends? And then you guys play on the swings together, you know? So it's difficult. And I am going to be sharing my advice about being the new kid, but also there's nothing I could tell you that will make your integration into a new school easy as pie. There's nothing like that. And even if you do all these things, there's also a chance that people are not going to easily make friends with you. You're not easily going to make friends with them because that has happened to me where I do what I always do, friendly, outgoing, ask questions, remember people's names, and I don't get anything in return. And they don't want to be friends with me. And that is a reality that you have to come to terms with. And so, my disclaimer is even if you do all these things, sometimes it is just going to suck. And that is the truth. But it won't suck forever. I'll let you know that. So, I'm going to tell you my advice, and also, hopefully, this makes you just feel less alone in your experiences. If you've ever gone through anything like this, or you're about to go through something like this, you are not the only one, and me and you are doing this together. Okay, so, as I said, I have been the new kid 9 times, and I will be going to my 10th school in a couple weeks. I start school after Labor Day, so I still have a little bit of summer left. I am not stoked to be starting a new school my senior year, especially since it's my 4th high school in 4 years, which is going to be hard. And I know it's going to be hard because by the time senior year rolls around, everyone has their friend group and their lunch table and their extracurriculars and their clubs and their relationships that they've been forming for the last 4 to 12 years. And you just come in as an outsider, and there's nothing you can change about that. So, yeah, it sucks. There's a lot of factors in your school that can affect your new kid experience. In my personal opinion, if you are going to a military school, you will be completely fine. I have no reason whatsoever to believe that you would go to a military school and people wouldn't talk to you. Like, honestly, I don't think that's possible. I'm sure anything can happen, but if you're going to a military school where everyone is a military kid, please do not be stressing. You have absolutely no reason to because there are usually about half the grade is new, depending on the base, and is in your same boat with you, and it will be completely fine, and half of everyone you meet will be new, and the other half will be looking for a new friend because all their friends just moved away. So, don't even stress. Obviously, it's still hard, 1000%, and it will take time to find your people and all of that, but I think that is a much, much, much easier transition compared to starting in a mid-sized rural public high school in a obscure state in which there is not a high population of military and in which they are not looking for new friends. And in that unfortunate case, it is difficult to make friends. And obviously, you still can, but it's a lot harder and it's a much, much different ball game. My freshman year, I was just that a rural mid-sized, I say large, I don't it's not it wasn't huge. It was like maybe 300 to 350-ish, 400 people in a class. Maybe less. Maybe I'm lying. I It felt large to me. And it was really, really hard to make friends. And you would think, "Oh, freshman year, quote unquote, everybody's new." These kids had been together through middle school because I don't know if multiple middle schools fed into the high school, but there was, like, the high school name, and then there was, like, that same name middle school, and so a lot of the kids just went from the middle to the high school, and they had all been friends forever, and they were not looking for new friends, in fact, and I did what I always did. I put myself out there, I was friendly, I was outgoing, and it seemed that I did not get any of that returned. Half the time I felt people, like, literally just ignored me and didn't look up from their phones, which was also a huge issue, especially at that school, I feel, and it was really sad. And honestly, most of my friends were other military kids because no one else wanted to be friends with us. And obviously, there were kids who were non-military that were friendly, but it was a very I probably could count on one hand the amount of people that wanted to be friends with me that weren't military. And mind you, like, I'm putting myself out there, I'm trying to connect with anybody I can. The only people who returned it were a select few civilians and then the other military kids, which was honestly insane to me considering how large the school was, but it wasn't a joke. And it was really difficult to transition into that school. It was probably my least favorite high school experience. Like I said, I have a lot of military friends, I wouldn't say 4 to 6 that I stayed with throughout the year, and then there was a couple I was on the swim team, so a lot of my friends were on the swim team, and that was fun. I was a freshman though, and a lot of them were just, like, older kids, and I was just, like, kinda hanging around them, it felt like. I don't know if I felt as, like, part of the group as all of them were. If I had stayed on the team, I feel like I would've gotten a lot closer with some of them, but just because I was a freshman and then I moved I had a couple upperclassmen I was friends with, but we weren't super duper tight or anything. And then there was literally about 3 civilian friends. And honestly, those 3 civilians were, like, super tight with the military kids, so it was, like, nice because they were, like, normal to it. Like, they just literally were like, "Oh, yeah, I'll talk to somebody new." Because everyone else was just like, "Oh, you're weird," and then they didn't talk to us. And unfortunately, that happens. And when that happens, I will say, it is not you. It happened to me, it happened to the other military kids at that school, and it can happen to you even if you're completely outgoing. If you're not outgoing and it happens to you, I would say always try your best. But again, maybe if you were more outgoing, it still wouldn't have worked out because I'd say I'm one of the most outgoing people that I know and didn't work for me. No success. So it's not you, it's them. And all you can do is try your best and be the one to take the first step. But sometimes that isn't enough. And that's the reality. Okay, that was me being real with you. There are a couple experiences that I wanna talk about that I've had as a new kid that hopefully you're like, "Wow, I've had these too, I'm not alone." Walking into a room where everyone knows each other and you're the only one who doesn't know anybody, so you walk into a classroom and everyone's chatting and oh my god, I hate this so much, when desks are in pairs, so you have to find a desk and you don't know a single person, okay? And they're just in sets of 2, so You find a little pair and there's one person there. You sit next to someone and they don't object when you sit down, but then their friend walks in the room and they look at you and you realize that you're in their seat, even though no one said anything to you and you assumed it was fine because they didn't object when you sat down, but now they're just giving you a dirty look and you're like, what did I even do? That's canon. I think that's probably happened to me more than I can count on one hand, which sucks because what's a girl supposed to do? So you end up sitting in a pair with no one, and then someone random sits down next to you, and hopefully y'all can be friends. But I don't know, just like when you just sit down and then they don't say anything, and you're like, okay, that's fine, and then their friend walks in, and then you're the bad guy, and it's so icky, and also it's so real, and I hope it's real to you too. Eating lunch on the first day of school. This is so, so, so terrible and stressful, and I hate it, and I could go on and on about like, okay, yes, I understand that high school isn't like Mean Girls, but a part of it is, okay? And, you can't sit with us. That's real. And even worse, sometimes they don't say it out loud and they just tell you with your eyes, and then you're like, "What did I even do to you guys?" And like I said, it's not even necessarily you, because it doesn't matter how much you smile because they probably would have rejected you either way because they rejected me and they rejected my other friend, and we are the same people and they just didn't want to sit with anyone new. And it's not your fault and you're not weird. And I would love to be friends with you, okay? So just keep that in mind. And also, oh my god, I hate eating lunch on the first day of school. Honestly, if I could drop my lunch, I would consider it because it's so the awkwardness of it all, and especially when there's not benches at a table and it's like chairs. So like only 8 people at a table because there's okay, let's say there's 6 people at a table, there's 2 open chairs and you sit down on one of them and then 2 more friends come over and they're like, "Oh," and they're staring at you because you're in one of their chairs and you're like because just the exclusion of it all and god, like it's terrible. I ugh, it's the worst thing in the world. And I don't even know what advice I can give you about that because I mean, obviously like a tip for making friends is if your class before lunch, if you were sitting next to someone in that class, just flat out be like, "Hey, can I sit with you at lunch?" And if y'all had been talking in class, maybe they'll be like, "Yeah, sure." Hopefully they don't hate you or anything. Or if you go to orientation and there's other new kids, sit with the new kids. I know it's not I definitely it's not a good idea to just limit yourself to the new kids because you should be branching out, but also sometimes the new kids are the only kids that are gonna talk to you, and it's an unfortunate truth, and it's really sad, honestly, but there's always that. So, that's always an option, and then, obviously, talking to someone that was in a class before you is good. That's usually what I do. And also, it's okay to switch lunch tables, it's not the end of the world. I would say yeah, honestly, my freshman year, I think I switched tables a couple times before I found, like, a table where I sat, and I ended up sitting with a couple of other people. It wasn't a big group or anything, but I had tried to sit with other people, and the thing happened where, like, I sat down, and then their friends came over, and I was in their seat, and I was like, "Oh, okay." It was sad, and it just sucks like that sometimes, and I'm sorry that you have to go through that. If you're going through that. But again, like I said, if you have gone through that, it's okay. It's really okay. It's not you, it's them, and you're an amazing person, an amazing friend, and the right people would love to have a friend like you. Other things, having to introduce yourself over and over, I think that's another canon experience. It's just annoying, like, "Hi, I'm Allie," and they're like, "Oh, where you're from?" And you're like, "I'll have to explain where I'm from again because you're probably not from anywhere." And then you have to be like, either say, "Oh, I lived in 8 different places," and the or you have to be like, "Oh, I came from Alabama," and they're gonna be like, "Oh, you're Alabamian?" And I'm like, "God, I was actually only there for 10 months." And they're like, "Oh, where were you before that?" I'm like, "I'm from New Jersey." I'm like, "Oh, you're from New Jersey?" And if you know anything about me, I do not wanna be associated with New Jersey. If you're from New Jersey, I love that for you. I personally no, thank you. But yeah, so there's that too. And then like, "Oh, where you born?" And I'm like, Japan, and they're like, "What? That's so It's just once it happens over and over and over, it's not that fun to talk about, and it's annoying, and you feel like you're just trauma dumping. Also, but it's not trauma, it's just like you don't you're like, "Does anyone even wanna hear this?" And you're like, "Okay, but they asked." But then you're like, "Did they ask for my life story? No, but what do I tell them? Because, they're gonna think I'm from Alabama or from New Jersey, God forbid." Yeah. I hope that made any sense. Missing your old friends and you're just sitting there and you're like, someone would have laughed at the joke that I just said, and I just wouldn't have gotten weird looks because they don't know you or your humor, and so you just kind of look like a freak, which sucks because you know your best friend would be laughing right there with you. And it's an unfortunate reality. And it's sad because you just wish your friends could be there with you. Wondering if you made the right impression. You're gonna do this. I can't even say don't do this because I'm gonna do it, you're gonna do it, we're all gonna do it, and we're gonna stress about it and hopefully not spiral, but some of us will spiral. I have spiraled. You probably have too. Once you make the first conversation, the first impression, all you can do is let it be. Because stressing over it is not gonna change what happened. If it was bad, it probably wasn't even bad, honestly. As a military kid, you're resilient and you're better at talking to people than most teenagers and even some adults are. So, it probably wasn't even bad and you're just freaking out for no reason. But even if it was a little tiny bit bad, it's okay. It's also not as bad as you think, and there's literally nothing you can do about it except for move forward. And stressing about it isn't gonna change it, and stressing about it isn't gonna help you have better impressions in the future. So, learn from it. That's all I got for you there. It's gonna suck. You're gonna say weird stuff, and you're like, "Why did I say that?" And yeah, all you can do is move on. Oh, this next one, feeling invisible one moment and then feeling like there's a spotlight on you in literally 2 seconds later. I hate this so much. Also, this has happened to me. Picture this. You're in a room and this teacher is like a chill teacher and she's like talking. She's like, "What did y'all do this summer?" And maybe these kids are like, you know what, those teachers who are like kind of friends, like your friend, and you're like, "Oh yeah, I miss blah blah blah. I went to blah 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 and I did this," and everyone's like, "Oh, that's so cool." And then she sees you not joining the conversation and she thinks like, "Oh, you're new." Especially if there's a small school. Teachers notice new kids. And she's like, "Hey, what's your name?" And you're like, "Oh, I'm Allie." And she's like, "What did you do this summer?" And you're like, "I moved from Germany to New Jersey." And everyone's like, boom, turns their head and looks at you. And she's like, "Wow, that's so fascinating." And then she starts asking you all these questions. And obviously they're well intentioned, but everyone is staring at you and not in the like, I don't know, I don't think anybody wants to be stared at. They're all staring at you in a way that you would wanna be stared at. They're not like, I don't know, in what situations you would wanna be stared at, but in like a zoo animal way. And you just feel like you're being exposed, which is weird because it's not anything wrong that you're a military kid, but you're like, it's a weird feeling, and you're like, "Why did she talk to me, and why did I just be invisible?" I feel you, and I don't again, advice for that, smile, engage in conversation because it can help you make friends maybe, but also the fact that, like, you feel like you're on display or people think you're weird. Yeah, they I feel you, and that happened to me too, so. Okay, what makes this so hard? You are literally grieving your old life while trying to build a new one. And I get it, you didn't die or anything, but when I say old life and new life, I just mean since literally every single thing changed about your circumstance changed, you're in a new place, you're in a new school, you don't have any of your old friends, you're not on the same sports teams, everything is different, and you're like sad that you left everything, and also you're trying to rebuild at the same time, which is extremely difficult and hard and all of the words. Yeah, it sucks, and how you feel is completely valid about the whole situation because it sucks that much. Advice for that, keep your head up and don't dwell too much and try not to compare your old life and your new life because they're different and they should be compared differently. Well, they shouldn't be compared at all because they're different. And you have to keep moving forward because if you're just looking back on the past, you're not going to be able to build the best life you can in your new place, and you deserve the best life you can in your new place. Other things that make it hard, everyone else already has it figured out except for you, it feels like. And yes, there could be other new kids, sometimes there's not, sometimes there's a ton. Again, if you're in a military school, girl, you're so good. Half the population could be new, especially in overseas like Korea, Japan, Germany. Half the grade leaves every year, and a new half comes in. So don't even stress. But again, those of us who are going to mid-sized high schools when they're just big enough for no one to care that there's a new kid, I feel you. And it feels like everyone else already has a routine and their friends except for you. And all you can do is start to build a routine and friends and try not to compare yourself because, again, you are not those other people. So don't compare. Inside jokes and friend groups already exist. I touched on this before. All you can do is try your best. And if a group of people that you've started to hang out with are still constantly excluding you and didn't add you to the group chat and hung out without you last week and keep talking about inside jokes that you don't know and not caring enough to explain them, perhaps that is not the friend group that you should be around. I don't know your situation at all, so take all of my advice with a grain of salt, but if someone is treating you like that, you deserve better friends than that, and there are people who will treat you better than that. So please don't settle for a less than average group of friends because you just want quote unquote group of friends, because if they're not treating you like friends, they don't deserve for you to call them your friends, in my opinion. And I think that I've also been in the situation where I went to a school and I was in a friend group that I kind of had an in because I actually knew one of the girls from another time, and I was not included in the group at all. So I was new, no one else was new. I was the only new kid. Well, there were a couple of other transfers, but I was the only military kid in the entire school, actually. And this friend group did not care about including me in anything. And I was really confused at first, and I was really hurt because I was putting myself, all of myself, into being their friend, and they didn't reciprocate at all. They would only talk to me if they needed help on their chem homework or if they needed the chem homework, or that was probably literally it. And they used stupid things to try to explain it. So I'm not on Snapchat, which I think is not completely weird or abnormal, but I'm not on Snapchat, and they would be like, "Oh, you're not in our group chat because you're not on Snapchat." And I'd be like, "Oh, well, we all have phone numbers." And they're like, "Nah, yeah," and they would just blow me off, and I was like, "Oh, okay." So I wasn't in the group chat, and then they kept having get-togethers, and I was uninvited to them, and when they would talk about them in front of me after they had happened, they would say, "Oh, sorry, we didn't invite you because you're not in the Snapchat, so we just, like, it we that's why." I was like, "Oh." And that in and of itself, plus the fact that they didn't care to include me in anything unless I was helping them get something, just shows that those are not friends. And it sucks that I was in that situation, especially since the reason I was in the situation is because I actually, like, had known one of the people, and I think that perhaps she didn't like the fact that she was obligated to, quote, unquote, "be my friend" because we had known each other from before, and I don't know if that's how she felt, but I believe it is, and I'm sorry that she felt like that, and I'm sure there was other things going on with her at that time, and I'm definitely sure that there were, and I don't think everything had to do with me. Like, I don't think it was, "Oh, because of this was wrong with me and this was wrong with me," at all. At the time, I felt that it was, and I was really down in the dumps about it because I had just started this new school, and I tried my very hardest to make new friends, and, it was just terrible. And eventually I branched out a little bit and I separated myself from that friend group, and my lunch table problems were solved by the fact that I dropped my lunch my second semester to take AP Chemistry, which was one of the best things I ever did because I love chemistry. But I'm not gonna lie, a part of me was just relieved to not have lunch. And I didn't have to deal with that because if I just took classes all day instead of eating lunch, I wasn't put in any awkward social situations I didn't wanna be in, and I didn't have to face the exclusion, and yeah, I was not invited to anything else, obviously, and I was never added to the group chat, but it was fine, and I found other friends. I didn't have a lot of friends, but I would say I had one really good friend throughout the year, and then I added another good friend to the mix, and then there was 2 guys that I added, and they became my friends, and it was just kind of the 5 of us, and we're a little not misfits, but it's like the 5 of us, and it was chill, and it was fine. I wouldn't say those were my only friends, there were definitely a couple other relatively close friends, just no one that I was super close with the way I was close with those people, but a couple people, like, in older grades or younger grades that I still talk to. But it did get better, but it sucked for a long time, and I only talk to 2 people for real talk to. I for real keep in contact with from that school, and a handful that I am surface level contact with, like, social media friends. And in sharing that, I just want you to know that if this is happening to you, or it's happened, or perhaps it will happen, I'm sorry that it did, or it will, or it does, or it is. And it isn't your fault. There's nothing wrong with you. And the fact that they're excluding you doesn't actually have much to do with the fact that you don't have Snapchat. It just has to do with them and not you. There's nothing wrong with you. You didn't do anything wrong. And trying to change yourself and bend over backwards and help them with their chemistry homework until you think that you've done enough to deserve their love, deserve their like, deserve their friendship. No, don't even. Because you deserve better and they don't deserve your friendship if that's how they're treating you. It sucked for probably 4 to 6 months, I think. Almost half the school year, more than half the school year, and that's just what happens sometimes. You're not alone. And from that experience, that helped me learn that like what I had learned a little bit my freshman year, but just confirming that it isn't you. It's not your fault. It doesn't have to do with you. Not everything is your fault. The reason they're excluding you doesn't exclusively have to do with you. They have their own issues, and perhaps they were feeling excluded. So pushing you out of the group was their way of trying to make themselves feel more included. You just don't know what's going on, and there's probably so many layers, especially in female friend groups. You could probably write an entire Bible length book about it, one friend group and what's happened between them and how their relationship is because that's how complicated it is or it can be. So, yeah. Other things to be aware about, it's okay to ask for help and talking to your parents, guardians, loved ones about what you're going through at school, no matter how big or small it feels to you, helps you and them understand what's going on. Because if you don't talk about it, you are more prone to continue jumping to the conclusion that something is wrong with you, and that can escalate and not be good for anybody, including yourself. Keeping those you love in the loop of what's going on, even if it feels embarrassing, maybe you've never had problems making friends before, and all of a sudden you're being excluded and you have no idea why, or you can't find a friend group, or you can't find a good lunch table. Your parents, your loved ones want to help you, and talking to them about it can help them help you. Also, talking to old friends about it, helping you vent about it. I would hope that you have old friends or friends that you can text or call. If you don't, I am sorry, but you still have your siblings or your parents, family, loved ones, grandma, aunt, and you can talk to them about it too if you don't have someone your age to help you get advice on it. I would say talking to my friends about it, just being like, hey, this sucks. And my friends talk to me about it too. They're like, it's really hard to make friends, and I just help support them and remind them that I'm there for them and they deserve real friends because they do. So, if you're going through that, you're not alone, and talking to people about it is a really good way to help you get through it. And something that is not talked about a lot, I've actually just never heard anybody talk about this, but the mental energy that it takes to hold yourself together through a transition into a new school, it's unlike anything else that I've ever had to put myself mentally in, because just that combined with starting a new school curriculum and making new friends and learning a place, and it's so much energy that's just it leaves you drained. I used to come home and just lay in my bed for hours when I go because it was so exhausting, and I don't think that's necessarily healthy, but I don't think you can control that too much. Like, you can't just tell yourself, "Oh, we're gonna stay calm about this and not try too hard." It's gonna happen, and I don't know what to say about it that's gonna make it better other than self-care, sleeping well, not looking at your phone too much. Because again, FOMO and social media can help make all of the things you're feeling worse, so staying off your phone. Talking to old friends can be helpful, but again, also talking to old friends too much can be harmful that's a weird, sticky situation. I would just keep that in mind, that it also can be harmful to talk to old friends too much because it could just get to the point where you think it's fine not to have any friends here because you have your old friend, but that kind of, clinginess and dependence isn't healthy either, in my opinion. Keep that in mind. Okay, so things that I wish someone had told me. I already went into some of my anecdotes and told you things that I wish I had been told, but specifically, again, Imma say this, it will suck. There's literally no way around it, and it's gonna suck. It honestly, it could suck for the whole entire year, and that's just the truth. Yes, it will get better. When it gets better, I cannot tell you, and there's nothing to tell you that will, like, make it so much faster or so much better because there's just it's every situation is different, A, but B, it's so hard to predict, and you could think, "Oh, like, it'll be fine, I'm at a small school." It could be worse than going to a big school. For me, going to big school is hard. For you, it could be your happy place. I have no idea. So there's no one size fits all because every school is different, every person is different, you are different. It's all different. So it's hard to predict there, but it will suck, and it will eventually get better in 1 to 10 plus months, unfortunately. First week isn't the whole story. I have never been to a school where after the first week, I was like, "Heck yeah, this is gonna be" no, that's actually never happened. In fact, even the first month has just been like, "I don't like this school, I don't have good friends, I don't know what to do, it's hard, blah, blah, blah." There has been I think my last school, I adjusted within a month. I think a month after school started, I was like, "Yep, I found my friends, this is great." But even, like, the first week at that school, it's hard. It's really hard. You don't know who the real ones are. You don't know who your friends are yet. You don't have everything figured out. And my first couple high schools, I would say definitely on the month side it took to fit in. And just know that the first couple months, the first month, the first week, the first day isn't the whole story. There's more to it. I promise. Please hang on. Please hang on. You got it. You're not going to love your new school immediately. Don't feel like you have to at all. Period. That's just it. You can adjust and still not love it. And that's completely fine and completely normal. It's okay to miss your old school. Again, completely fine, completely normal. Again, going back to kind of the asking for help thing, you do not have to pretend everything is fine. You do not have to go home and put on a strong face because your loved ones love you and you love them, and it's okay to be real with them. And I think that it's better for everybody in the long run for you to be real with them because if not, it can also, like I said, escalate and ask for help when you need it, please. Also, you don't have to become someone else to fit in. If someone is telling you you're not in our group chat and you didn't get invited to hang out because you don't have Snapchat, getting Snapchat is not going to solve your issue. Period. Okay? Whatever your case is, whatever they say is wrong with you, fixing that doesn't mean you're going to be included. And you do not ever have to change yourself to fit someone else's standard because they do not deserve your presence or your friendship. Period. And you do not let anybody tell you that something is wrong with you because there's absolutely nothing wrong with you. And if someone's telling you something is wrong with you, or this is why you don't fit in, or this is why we excluded you, no, that's literally crap. Keeping it PG. So don't let that happen, and please separate yourself, and it is better to have no friends or one good friend than a friend group that is telling you to your face what's wrong with you and why you're excluded, because I guarantee you, me downloading Snapchat would not have solved that issue at all, because real friends don't care about the fact that you do or do not have Snapchat. That's literally the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Okay? Please, please, please take that advice. Okay, we're gonna go next into what helped me. And again, this is me and this is my thing, and take it with a grain of salt, like everything in this, because your situation is different, you're different, etc. Okay, talking to a new person each day. This is good because if you talk to certain people on the first day of school and then you just stick to those people and it turns out those people are toxic and they're excluding you and you're like, freak, I actually don't have any other friends because I haven't been talking to anybody else since I started this friend group. That's a problem. So you should be branching out every day. And also, there's a really weird thing where there is years of history between people at your school that you are not aware of. So, this has happened and it will happen. This happened to me and it will probably happen to you, or it's probably happened to you, where you make friends with someone, it's going great. You're like, oh, this is a good friend. And then you get partnered with this random girl in bio and you start talking to her and she seems chill, and like you get her phone number and you guys like make plans to do your bio project together. You mention it to your other friend and her face just like changes and she talks about how in middle school this girl XYZ blah blah blah, and that you shouldn't be friends with her and she's weird. How to navigate this? Your friend may have a completely valid reason to dislike the person that you also call your friend. However, it is up to you whether you want to let that change your opinion. I think that it 1000% depends on your friend's reason. If it was like perhaps something illegal or completely morally appalling that this person did, I perhaps would rethink something. But also before you go crazy with that, you don't know your new friend that well either. As in the friend that told you about what's wrong with your other new friend. I should have named them. Anyway, they could be lying because literally they could be jealous that you made a new friend. I have no idea. Literally, you have no idea. And they could be stretching the truth. They could be making something up. But they could also not be lying. And maybe this person did something morally appalling and it isn't someone you should be friends with. But you don't know. And it's just up to you to make the call on that. And it's a sticky situation. I think that if it's petty drama, as in she said she liked my boyfriend, eh, I'm more prone to say, "Oh," just be acknowledging of the friend, like, "Okay, that sucks. That was rude or something." Okay. But that doesn't mean you have to cut your biology partner off at all by any means, in my opinion. Maybe if her boyfriend cheated on her with your biology partner, again, it's just up to you. It's your call. It's a really, really sticky situation, but just know that there's no right answer, and it's completely situationally dependent on a lot of factors, and I'm sorry that you have to make the decision. I think playing it mellow on both ends is typically where I like to go. I don't have to make my biology partner my new best friend, but I'm keeping my guard up, just in case. I don't know. It's really sticky, and I just want to acknowledge it because I feel like that's happened to me a lot. Because so many people just have drama, and you don't know about it, and then they're like, "Oh, you can't." Yeah, it's really weird. But again, depending on the drama, depending on what they quote unquote did, just keep in mind they could be lying, they could be exaggerating, and sometimes they're not. And you're like, "Oh." And do not go to the extreme on either spectrum. Do not completely cut that friend off. Do not completely disregard what your friend said about the other person. Just don't go too far on one side. I think I'd say definitely don't do that. The other thing, just throwing this in there, general advice, please do not uh be talking. Okay, especially as a new kid, you do not know anybody. Hence, you should not be opening your mouth about people that you just met. Or if someone says something about your biology partner, they did XYZ, you should not be repeating it to everybody because, again, that person could be lying. But B, what did that person do to you? you should not be talking about them because you don't know that and you don't have a reason to be. And obviously, just in general, like, whatever, don't gossip. Like, the Bible says that. We know. But just be aware of that. And please, especially be cautious about that on your first few weeks. Do not dog on anybody. So, if your friend, let's say you have a friend that's going off about somebody, do not completely jump in. Don't be like, hey, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, you're so right. No, don't do that. Please don't. It's your own choice if you want to gossip, obviously. And not that I support gossiping, but it's different than if you are just like completely jumping in for no reason. If you don't know anything about the situation and you're like, you're so right, she's such a blah, blah, blah. No, please don't do that, especially not in the first few months that you know someone. Okay, again, other stuff to help me learn people's names, join activities early, get involved, blah, blah, blah. Find people in clubs. I did a whole episode on how to get involved in a new school. All of that aids in making friends. I do also give some friendship advice in there, so go check that out. Give yourself time to adjust. Don't expect things. Again, I mentioned that. Remember that you have survived this before. Like for me, just remind myself, I've done this 9 other times and I made it through each one. I'm still here. So it's okay. And you've been through it. You can do it again. And I am so sorry that I cannot promise you a happy ending with this, but there could be one. And if you just completely think it's going to be terrible and negative, it's going to be terrible and negative. You have to keep an open mind and you have to hang on and try your best because that's literally all you can do. And the negativity is not going to get you anywhere whatsoever. Okay, some rapid facts. Keep these in mind. Stop assuming everyone is judging you. They're probably not judging you as much as you think, and they're probably not staring at you as much as you think. Most people are too busy thinking about themselves. That's huge. If you're worried about what everyone's thinking about you, they're probably worried about what everyone's thinking about them. One bad day doesn't mean the whole year is going to be terrible. One bad month doesn't mean the whole year is going to be terrible. A bad 2 months doesn't mean the whole year is going to be terrible. Okay? Not everyone is going to like you. You don't need everyone to like you. Find your people instead of what you think is popular. Do what you want. What you think is cool, not what everyone else thinks is cool. The people that you're close with were once strangers, so your old friends were once strangers, and just remember that these strangers can be your next close friends, so keep that in mind, please. Your next best friend might be someone that you haven't even met yet because you haven't put yourself out there yet, and yeah, you don't know, so keep putting yourself out there. Some good things that can come from this: being independent, learning how to start conversations, gaining confidence in uncomfortable situations. And sometimes moving gives you these opportunities to grow that you wouldn't have gotten otherwise. And that's like kind of stupid because you're like, hey, I actually didn't have a choice. I was forced into this uncomfortable situation I didn't want to be in. And I understand that. But a lot of people are not forced into those situations until adulthood. So it just gives you that social and emotional intelligence that you would not have gained otherwise. So using that opportunity to hone those skills that most people do not have the opportunity to hone is huge. And it's also, this is me making light of your difficult situation that you're forced to be in. But if you're in this situation anyway, using it to learn a new skill is a positive thing to do. The hardest part about starting a new school is starting the new school. As time goes on, it will get a little bit easier. Hopefully. Again, it can take weeks, months, days, and I'm sorry. But you're not alone. I've done it. People have done it. If you're a new kid, email me your story at thatmilteen on Instagram or email me at thatmilteen@gmail.com because I would love to hear your new kid story. And just sharing your story can also help you feel less alone. If you want to help support my Gold Award, you can fill out my form that's linked in the description and also my Instagram bio, and I use that to help shape future episodes. So if there's any topics you want to hear about regarding new kids, I know it gets heavy and deep, and I feel like I was talking a little heavy and deep just because I was talking about my personal experiences, and like I said, this is hard. It's so hard, and I'm sorry that we have to go through it, but you're gonna have to go through it, and I'm gonna have to go through it one more time. Senior year, we got this. Okay? Thanks for listening to Home is Where the Heart Is. I'm Allie, and I hope today's episode reminded you that you're not alone. We're all in this together. If you want to share your story, email me at thatmilteen@gmail.com or find me on Instagram at thatmilteen to stay up to date on our community. If you're listening on Spotify, please rate the podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, interacting with this video helps us reach more kids like you. Remember, home isn't just a place, it's where your heart is. See you next time.